Seidel, he's been tracking the cold and the wind and the blustery conditions. Let's go over to Mike in Burlington.
Good morning, Kelly here from upstate New York. We're in Onondaga County, just south of the Oswego area. And we drove down I-81 today, and it was just a wet, slushy mess. We were in back of the plows. You can see what's going on now. This is the lake effect, which we haven't seen much of. Syracuse nearby has only had 4.5 inches of snow so far this season. That's 30% of average. So we're going to make up for a little bit of lost time, but we're not looking at more than, say, 3 or 4 inches. It looks like we've had a lot of snow, but the grass doesn't look like it's been cut since the middle of the summer. I measured over on a solid surface 1.5 inches, and we'll end up with some spots picking up 4 or 5 inches in those favored locations. The roads are in pretty good shape right now. It's not extremely cold. It's right around 30 degrees, and they have salted and plowed the surface streets here in Brewerton, and also I-81, which is just about a mile behind us. The winds have backed off. Take a look at the wind again last night at the stadium in Orchard Park. The Bills and the Patriots. Buffalo Niagara International peak gusts 51 miles an hour, and they did get some snowfall, but you know, when you have all the stadium lights and a little bit of snow, it looks worse than it is, much like with TV lights. So the snow has not really caused any issues there. More of an issue up here off Lake Ontario. And again, this is going to last into the early afternoon. The snow advisory till 3 p.m. And then tomorrow, we're going to watch for a system along the East Coast, which may bring a dusting to some areas, maybe a little bit more in southern New England. So, Kelly, it's nice to finally see measurable snow. This is the latest in the season in my 30 years that I've had to wait to see measurable snow. Let's go back to Chris Brewerton in Atlanta. Chris? Okay, this is what we dealt with driving down from the Tug Hill Plateau into Brewerton this morning. This is I-81 in Oswego County, and we were behind the snowplow, so we were fortunate. The roads were wet and slushy. Temperature's not that cold. It's in the low 30s. That helps out a little bit, plus we're going to have daylight, but it was about a 40 to 45 mile an hour speed limit, part of that due to the snowplows. Never complain about being behind a snowplow on a major interstate. And speaking of travel, I-81 and parts of I-90 between Buffalo and Cleveland will have some lake effect today. That'll be about your only issue in the Northeast today. As far as flying, airports look good. The winds have really backed off from yesterday. Even some severe thunderstorm warnings last night in New York City. We had gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour, so the winds have eased off, and that should make it a better flying day. It was really bumpy landing yesterday in Syracuse around 6 p.m. I mean, it was bumpy. Meanwhile, Syracuse today with the snow, there'll be de-icing through the morning and into the afternoon. Right now, it's 1.5 miles visibility at Syracuse. Temperatures 31, wind chills 22, so that kind of puts it in perspective. But they're so far behind in the snowfall department at this point. As far as tomorrow goes, that next little system is going to go up and out off the East Coast. So there will be a little bit of snow in upstate New York and across New England. If we're going to see measurable snow as far as an inch or two, it's going to be from Boston to Portland and down East Maine. This has been a system we've been watching all week. The snow amounts are going to be more of a nuisance for most of us, maybe enough to shovel in parts of southern New England. Jim, let's talk about the weekend system. After we get through that swath of snow in the Midwest, we got to worry about what's going to happen next weekend across the Great Lakes and Northeast.
Yeah, well, we're going to be on the warm side of that one, Michael, so even less chances of snow, I think, and unless we change on the backside of it. Appreciate that. Let's talk about what we got. Joining us live from, I guess, the shores of Oneida Lake, all right, so not Lake Ontario, but the smaller Oneida Lake, in beautiful Brewerton, right up Interstate 81, is meteorologist Mike Seidel. Good morning, Mike. You know, you've been watching some changing conditions this morning. Anything where the visibility has come way down, or is it manageable?
No, it's manageable, and here comes the snowplow. He's coming up from I-81, which we took down from the Tug Hill Plateau. Notice the roads are slushy and wet, the ones that have been salted and scraped. The temperature is right around 30, 31 at nearby Syracuse International. They're going to be de-icing, of course. Visibility now 4 miles. So, Jim, yes, we haven't had the visibility here down below a mile. We certainly haven't been a half-mile moderate, but we've got a couple of inches of snow now on the ground, and considering that Syracuse only has had 4.5 inches of snowfall through yesterday, So we've almost gotten 50% of our seasonal total to date. Now, we had the wind last night, and it's really died down, but let's go back to Buffalo in the game last night. The Bills taking on the Patriots. Patriots took the game 14-10. Few, if any, passes. I saw the opening kickoff. It went all the way into the stands on the other end of the field. The wind was west, and that stadium is set up northwest-southeast, so it was blowing not quite parallel from one end zone to the other. That was just amazing. Someone got a football and a souvenir and went home happy last night. Well, if they were a Patriots fan, not a Bills fan. Okay, back here, let's take a look at the radar. You can see that band of snow. Here's our plow right in front of us now. How about that? Scraping the slush off the road. That band is set up off Lake Ontario, and we're right in the middle of it. We came down here. The HER model did a really good job. I've been watching that since yesterday and trying to figure out where do we go? Where do we go? And this is not a very transitory band, meaning it's not moving north or south. It's coming right over us, and we're going to stay here and see what we can squeak out here in what has been a snow drought of a season. Snowmobilers are, boy, they're not liking this pattern. In fact, we're going to warm up again. And we talked to the locals, and you know, hardly any snow, whatever they get, seems to melt in a couple of days, and that's going to be the situation here as it warms up again as we go into the weekend. So, Jim, it's nice to see some snow finally, but it certainly is not going to stick around very long because we have more warm air coming in, Kelly, and we don't even have any piles in the parking lots up in the Tug Hill. I mean, amazing. Not a flake on the ground. Yesterday in Syracuse, 57 degrees and raining.
That's crazy. And I can see why, you know, the snowplow operators are upset. You've got the ski resorts who are praying for snow as well. But we'll see if this pattern does start to change a bit as we head towards January.
Well, speaking of the winter side of the storm, Winter Storm Atticus is pushing out of the upper Midwest and now into the Northeast, leaving behind accumulation of heavy snow in many areas.
That's right. And that's where we find Mike Seidel. He's been up there braving the elements. He joins us now from Wausau, Wisconsin. Mike.
Hey, good morning from Wausau, where the snow and the wind continue. The snow will wind down in a couple of hours. The warning goes till noon today. They've had about 6 or 7 inches downtown, more north of town. And as you can see, they have plowed the roads very nicely. They've thrown down a lot of salt. Now that we have daylight, things are beginning to loosen up out here. And temperatures around 30, 31. So it's not, you know, ridiculously cold like it could be in December here in Wisconsin. Wind chills in the low 20s as the wind comes down the street. Speaking of snowfall, incredible totals in parts of Minnesota. Just outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul, we had over 20 inches, including St. Paul itself, 21 inches of snow. Minneapolis, St. Paul Airport, officially, that's the observation station, 11 yesterday. Now the third snowiest December calendar day on record. And there have been impacts too at the airport. No changes since the past hour when we chatted with you. Right now, 57 flights canceled in and out of MSP. Check with your air carrier. That's about half of all the cancellations system-wide. So the snow and wind will wind down here. The sun will come out this afternoon. Temperatures in the low 30s, staying in the 30s the next couple of days. But then ahead of the next system, a big warm-up in the entire Midwest with temperatures back in the 50s and 60s by Wednesday. But the big story overnight, the deadly tornado outbreak. We've got crews on the scene. We'll keep you updated. We'll come back with Reynolds and Molly from the Weather Channel with all the pictures, video, and updates.
Let's get you to one of those spots that has been within one of those lake snows, and that is there in Brewerton, New York. That's where we find our very own Mike Seidel. And Mike, we sent you out to Marquette last week looking for snow, and now I think you found some good snows.
Yeah, Marquette was a bit disappointing, but we never expected much, but we got less than we expected. So, yes, we went all the way up there. We didn't have to fly as far. We're up here just outside of Syracuse, which usually, on average, is the snowiest big city in the country. And I noticed on the 30-year CLIMO, which just got updated, now we're going from 1991 to 2020, that their average snowfall in a season has jumped up from about 123 to about 127 inches. So there you go. So far, though, up until today, only 4.5 inches of snow. 30% of average, and we're in this lake effect band. Let's go to the radar. We're going to be in this for a while. We've got about 3 inches on the ground here in Brewerton, right off I-81, and you can see how it's coming right off Ontario. It's all about the cold air over the relatively warmer lake of Ontario, and it's coming right in over us in northern Onondaga County, also also up into southern Oswego County. We're right near the county line on the river. And we've got plows out this morning. First time I've seen a snow plow this season. The snow drought across most of the country. He's got his blade down, and I can't tell on the back end if he's spreading any salt, but they're trying to keep up now because this snowfall rate is about half an inch to an inch an hour. But again, it comes and goes. He is not putting down any salt. He's just scraping the road. Oh, no, he is putting down some salt. There he is. By the way, the temperature's right around 31, 32. So it's not very cold, but cold enough to snow. And with a low sun angle, we're not getting much help in the daytime. If it was after dark right now, these roads would just be snow covered and snow packed. So there you go here in the areas outside of Syracuse, making up for lost time. And this will wrap up this afternoon. The winter weather advisory, or the lake effect snow advisory, goes until 3 p.m., Jen. And then we may get a little bit more snow tomorrow, but then it warms up again. So the snow you see will melt once again. That's been the case all season. Snowmobilers are really in bad shape, along with all the winter sports, although they did get some snow at the ski resorts of the southern tier around Jamestown.
Yeah. No, Mike, I know. I mean, look, anyone who's traveling for winter sports for the holiday is worried about that. I saw the flag behind you, and the wind doesn't look terribly strong right now. What I want to know from you is, what was it like traveling yesterday into the Northeast, there, into Buffalo, with all that wind? I mean, it was wild, gusting nearly 50 miles an hour.
It was. Now, we flew into Syracuse. We landed at about 6 o'clock, and the guys up front, the pilot and the captain and the second seat, warned us that it was going to be bumpy on the way down. I knew that, and it was pretty bumpy. We took one of those drops where some people think we dropped like 500 feet. It's not nearly that much, but it's like your stomach goes up to your throat, and I heard some people vocally say, mother of whatever,
yeah,
mother
right.
of, and, it was, yeah, some anxious travelers, and it was like this, trying to land, like this, because we were coming in. Now, you try to fly into the wind, but you can't exactly fly into the wind, and winds were gusting in Syracuse about 40 miles an hour at the time. But today, the wind has really backed off. It's just this beautiful lake effect snow, Jen.
Yeah, it really is a winter wonderland out there, Mike. Thank you. We're going to keep checking back in with you. There is another shot of snow coming into the Northeast.
We finally found some snow in the continental U.S. It's been a snow drought. We know the horrible conditions of the ski resorts out west. That's going to improve. We'll have the extended forecast coming up, especially in the Tahoe area. But we're back here in lake effect country. But Syracuse, coming into this, it only had 4.5 inches of snow, 30% of average to date. And I looked up the top snowiest cities in the lower 48 with population greater than 100,000 people. And it's Grand Rapids and Ann Arbor in Michigan and Billings, Montana. But the real nugget here is the fact that those three cities are on the top of the list, and they've only had 10 to 11 inches of snow here. What are we, almost into the second week of December. So really hard to find any snow falling anywhere. And once it does fall, Jen and Alex, it tends to melt in a couple of days, much like this will, because it's going to warm up again as we get towards the weekend.
Yeah, and Mike, when you came into town, usually in this part of the country, you have salt that's been down for a couple of storms by now, right? Was that the case, or is this sort of the first coating that they've really had to do on the roads to treat them?
This is certainly by far going to be the biggest storm, I say storm with quotation point marks, here in this area just outside of Syracuse. Like I said, they've had 4.5, but it's been nickel and dime through November, December. And the one thing I also noticed, when you come up here in December, you usually see piles of snow in the parking lots. So although there may not be any or little snow on the ground, you've got the snow piled up. Some of that melts by March or early April. But there was nothing on the ground yesterday. It was 57 in Syracuse, and it was raining. So enjoy the snow while you get it today and tomorrow, because it will melt again by the weekend, and snowmobilers are really, really disappointed, as well as a lot of skiers in the U.S. of A. Although, as I mentioned earlier, the southern tier ski resorts down around Jamestown did pick up 6 to 10 inches of snow. But again, it warms up again by the weekend.
Just can't seem to keep it, a good big snow and then prolonged cold to really keep that snow in place. Just can't seem to happen right now. But we got a long winter to go. We haven't even officially, officially gotten to winter yet. So.
Not to the solstice anyway.
Right.
Mike, we're going to check back in with you.
Our Weather Channel meteorologist Mike Seidel watched Winter Storm Atticus dump that heavy snow in Wausau, Wisconsin. He joins us live now. Mike, wow, just incredible that we went from hardly any snow or snowfall deficit in some of these areas to double-digit snowfall now.
Yeah, one of the prime examples is Minneapolis-St. Paul. Their deficit before yesterday was 7.2 inches. That's been wiped away because they picked up 11 inches officially at the airport, which now makes that yesterday, Friday, the 10th of December, the third snowiest calendar day on record. Back to the 1800s at MSP. Nearby, St. Paul had 21 inches, so a lot of snowfall. Here, not many, as many inches, but, 6, 8 inches, still coming down, still blowing around, and they still got the Bobcats out here digging out the snow. Roads downtown are in pretty good shape. They plowed them through the storm. They've thrown down a ton of salt. Our temperature is running in the low 30s, 30, 31. Wind chill's down in the low 20s, so it's a nippy morning, but by December standards, it has been a lot colder. In fact, earlier in the week, we had 2 mornings that were below 0, so it gives you an idea that it has actually gotten cold up here a little bit so far, and it will get cold again before Christmas. But in the meantime, the wind blows, the winter storm warning till noon today. Over in Green Bay, they had a little snow, then rain. It's going to go back to snow there. Maybe they get an inch or 2 around Lambeau. The game is tomorrow night, so that won't be an issue. You can see the wind blowing the snow by us. So the winds die down this afternoon. The snow ends in a few hours. The sun comes back out. It'll be a chilly weekend, but then by Wednesday, as that next front approaches, that system coming into the west coast, our temperatures here will bounce back into the 50s, Jackie, before it turns cold. And then next week, leading into Christmas, our temperatures will be running below average for a change here in the upper Midwest. But the first big snowstorm of the season, finally, for the folks here in this area, they can finally get out and do some snowmobiling. Jackie?
A big muddy mess, though, down the line. Thanks so much, Mike Seidel.
So let's go out to Mike Seidel, who's out there chasing that lake effect snow this morning. He's in Brewerton, New York, which is off of Lake Ontario. All right, Mike, let's see how the snow has been adding up. And what kind of quality snow is it? Is it wet? Is it dry?
It's in the middle. You can reach down and pick up the snow. We've got an ambulance coming through. That's the emergency siren you hear. And you can make a snowball pretty easily. The temperatures have been in the low 30s, so there you go. You can make a snowball. That's the consistency. If you get down here, I'm going to try to give you an idea of how much snow we have. Now, the problem is the grass doesn't look like it's been cut since about July, but you can see that we're over 3 inches. I put a ruler. I've been doing the measurement on a solid surface, but we've got at least 3 inches. We've had some reports just west of here of 4.5 to 5 inches. So this is pretty substantial considering nearby Syracuse has only had 4.5 inches through yesterday. So some spots doubling what they'd had all season. And Syracuse has only had 30% of their seasonal average to date. Snow is on the light side right now, but enough to keep the roads nice and slushy. The plows go by. They have salted. That's about the best they can do. When the heavier part of the band comes through, they cover up very, very quickly. Look at the radar right now. You can see little fingers from the band coming through where we are, north and west of Syracuse. But also notice the band is slowly migrating north from Onondaga County up into Oswego County and then into Lewis County up towards the northern shores of Lake Ontario and into the Tug Hill Plateau. The advisory, the lake effect snow advisory, goes till 3 p.m. We'll wind down. We'll get some more snow tonight and tomorrow, but we're not expecting the totals that we saw today in this area. But Jen and Alex, it's finally good to see the ground white. Snowmobilers they're really desperate. But again, this snow here is going to melt before the weekend.
Yeah,
so we get the process all over, and then it looks mild next week. So not looking good. But again, it's only the 7th of December. We've got a lot of winter left and cold weather, and we'll see how the pattern changes in this La Nina year once again.
Yeah, no, patience for sure. Mike, it looks like a regular day behind you. So I'm assuming, schools are in session as usual. This isn't a huge snowfall for this part of the state.
No, as far as I know, I've seen school buses go by this morning, so it's pretty much business as usual. These areas are the professionals. These people live up here. Syracuse averages over 127 inches of snow a season. That's the snowiest big city in the country. So that gives you an idea of what they face most years. So 3 or 4 inches of snow in this area. Now you get away from this band that we've been showing all morning, and there's hardly any snow, and the ground is bare. It's just this band coming off Ontario that's put on this nice pre-holiday cover of white.
Run out and get those holiday pictures taken right now, right, Mike? Because this is not going to last that long, as you talked about.
Good idea.
Yeah. All right, Mike, thank you.
Get it while you can.
Exactly.
Get it while you can.
Exactly, yes. We'll be checking back in with Mike, keeping track of that snowfall.
Good morning and welcome back to some lake effect for a change. It's been hard to find. Syracuse, only 4.5 inches of snow so far this season, down 70%. But it snowed this morning. It's still snowing lightly. We're in a band, not right in it right now, but look at the radar. You can see it's kind of fragmented. We'll get some more snow here in Brewerton, northwest of Syracuse. We're right off Ontario, so the band's been coming off Ontario. You can see that on the radar, the difference between the cold air loft and the relatively warm water surface. Roadways are slushy right now, not snow-packed. Now, they will pack up if it snows harder. We were down to moderate snow earlier. That's a half-mile visibility. And another group of people that are happy to see some snow are the snowplow operators, the private contractors, because that's how they make their living. A lot of them do get an amount of money per month if it doesn't snow, kind of a retainer fee. But boy, I tell you what, 4.5 inches of snow this season, a lot of that really didn't even need to be scraped because it melted. And this snow, too, is going to melt by the weekend. We're going to get some more snow showers through the afternoon, even tomorrow, but then it starts to warm up as we head towards Friday and Saturday. So far, though, we've had 3 to 5 inches. The lake effect snow advisory right now set to expire at 3 p.m. in these counties, Onondaga, Oswego, and Lewis, Jefferson, the counties from Syracuse north and west towards Lake Ontario. So, Jen and Alex, a decent snowpack finally, but it's not going to stick around for the snowmobilers, and it's going to warm up once again in this La Nina winter. We'll see how it shakes out. Again, it's only December 7th. We have a long way to go, but it is disappointing if you want to get outside and snowmobile or get outside and do anything that involves snowfall.
You know, it's been pretty mild overall. What is the ground like? I think it's getting kind of muddy there underneath that snowpack because it can't, I mean, the ground can't be that frozen.
Well, this is a pretty thick area of grass. Yesterday it was 57 in Syracuse and it was raining. So there is mud. We'll find you some mud. This is what Jen's talking about because it's 31, 32. Now tonight this will all freeze up. So watch the roadways. Anything that's standing water after sundown, after about 4:35. So you can see what I'm standing in. Now this is a little bit of a culvert with some water, but yes, this is not frozen up. And it is a muddy mess. It's been like that. The freeze and thawing and the melting of the snow, but again, only 4.5 inches. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. This is the snowiest big city in the country. They average 127 inches a season, and they're down 70% to date. But, you know, a couple storms, a couple big lake effect events, that could change everything very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Thanks so much, Mike. We'll be checking with you, no doubt. And, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like we're seeing this now.
Meteorologist Mike Seidel is in western New York checking out what the lake effect snow machine is cranking out.
So far this season, it's been basically a snow drought, literally coast to coast, including here in lake effect country. We're just outside of Syracuse, and so far 3 to 5 inches have fallen. Keep in mind, Syracuse has only had 4.5 inches of snow through yesterday. That's only 30% of their average, and they're the snowiest big city in the country. They average about 127 inches and change in a typical year. Roadways, snowpacked and snow covered. When the intensity picks up, the roads turn white. Take a look at one of the heavier snow bands that came through during the mid-morning hours. You can see how hard it was snowing. Our visibility was down to a half a mile. That's moderate snow, and that'll mean a half an inch to an inch an hour will stick based on the consistency of the snow. Now, the snow at 30 to 31 degrees is packable, so you can make a snowball and maybe a snowman. The wind has certainly died off. Yesterday, last night in Buffalo, you may have seen the Bills Patriots game, gusts to 50 miles an hour. Well, today the winds this morning on the lakefront were only gusting about 25 miles an hour and very light winds right now. The lake effect snow advisory continues until 3 o'clock this afternoon for these counties from Syracuse, where we are in Onondaga, up towards Lewis, Oswego counties, and then the lake effect will wind down. But still some more snow showers tonight and tomorrow, and we'll see how much more adds up. But it's finally white here in the areas where they really love to snowmobile. Unfortunately, it's going to warm up once again, and the snow is going to melt. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, the Weather Channel in Brewerton, New York.